So what we're going to do with this little assignment is I want to show you how to align things on your screen using tab stops. And a tab stop is used when we want to have multiple columns and you want those columns to be lined up and neatly arranged on your screen. Now, if you go over on the left side of your screen, there's a little arrow that points to the right. And this little arrow, if you click on that, that's where your tab settings are located. So this first item that we see with the arrow that kind of points to the right, that's called a left tab. Directly below that, there's an arrow that points upward, that's called a center tab. And then finally, this arrow to the right is called a right tab. Now those are the three main ones that we'll work with, left, center, and right. And we're going to use those today in setting up and adjusting some things on our page. Okay? So the first thing I want you to do is make sure that the left tab is selected. And then I want you to come onto your screen and on your toolbar, right up here on the ruler, just below the 1, I want you to click one time. And what you should see is that little arrow that's pointing to the right should be stamped in on your toolbar. Okay, everybody got that? And now when I put my cursor on top of that, I want to see a little pop-up box, a little dialog box that tells me that's a left tab. All right, everybody good? Got that? All right, the next thing I want you to do, let's go over to your tab selection tool again, over on the left. This time I want you to take a center tab. Now notice that as soon as I click the center, my arrow changes to a vertical arrow. That's showing me I have a center tab. Let's go over and put the cursor right under the 3-inch mark on your ruler, right below the 3-inch mark, and let's set a center tab. So again, yours should look identical to mine. Got a little vertical arrow right at the 3-inch mark now. That is a center tab. Everybody's good? All right, finally, let's go back to the tab selection bar again, and let's choose a right tab. And then I'd like you to set the right tab at the 5-inch mark on your ruler. Right about 5, go ahead and click. And so what you should see are arrows. The first one that points to the right. We have a center one that's pointing up and down. And then finally the right tab that's pointing back an arrow back to the left. Okay, so here's what those tabs do. They will help us to align our text on our screen so that we have a consistent starting point for everything. All right, so let's practice entering some data here. On your keyboard, right next to the letter Q, hit the tab key. The tab key will move the cursor now into that first tab that we set, which is the left tab. And I want to put a couple labels in here. So the first label I want you to put in, let's type the word name. Let's type name. All right, now notice that that's lined up with our left tab. It's lined up right below that tab. Now hit the tab key, and we should have stopped at that 3-inch tab, the tab that's right in the center. Now notice that when I type this next piece of text, what's going to happen is it's going to center the text under my tab stop. So let's type address, A-D-D, see how that is centering it? When I type address, it's centering it right below my center tab. So that label that I just put in there is now centered. Let's hit the tab key again. And now my tab is over on the right side. Now notice what happens when I type this last. Let's put phone. And as I type phone, phone is keying backwards because it's keying off the right tab over on the right side. So what that means with my tabs is if I have a left tab, the tab is actually set on the left side of my text. If I have a center tab, it is set to center my text. And if I have a right tab, the tab is on the right side of my text. So the left, center, and right tab is referring to the position of the tab in relationship to the text. Okay? So I'm going to erase these little marks. And now I want you to return twice. 2 hard returns. 1, 2. Notice where my cursor is. My cursor returned over here to my left margin. Remember now, this is my first line indent, this is my second line indent, and my hanging indent. Okay? We didn't do any adjusting on those. We left those just the way they are. And we just are aligning text now using our tab stops. So what I want us to do is to hit the tab key 1 time. And that should go in right to my first tab, which is my left tab. All right? So I'm right under name. All right, now we're going to enter some info here. So let's enter a name. The name is Joe Doe. Joe Doe. Let's hit the tab key. Takes me into my center tab. Let's put in Joe's address. Joe lives at 123 West Street. Notice that as I'm keying that, it becomes a centered line under my tab stop. Okay? Everybody good? Let's hit the tab key again. Notice it goes all the way over to the right side. All right? And let's enter the city, which is TRF. Let's go all caps. TRF, comma, 1 space, MN. All right? So there's our first line of text. Whoops, we don't want TRF, we want phone number. Look, delete that. Delete, sorry. Okay, phone number, 681 1234. Easy to remember his address, easy to remember his phone number. All right, let's return 2 times. 2 times. Let's enter one more. Let's hit the tab key. Let's enter one more person. Tom Doe. Tom Doe. Hit the tab key. Tom lives at 234 East Street. Hit the tab key. What do you think Tom's phone number is? 681 2345. Thought I was going back down? All right. So my text that I've keyed is now lined up under the tabs that I've set. Okay? Now let's go back and make a couple of adjustments, a couple changes on some things here. So let's go up to our label. Let's go up here and select name. And I want name to be bold, 14-point font. So let's go bold. Let's change the 12 to a 14. And I want it underlined. Okay? Now I want that same format to apply to my address and also to my phone. But I don't want to do it manually. I want the computer to do it for me. So what tool do I use? The paintbrush. So with this selected, go up and double click on your paintbrush. And then when I come back down, I want to click on address. And when I click once on address, it should apply the paint that I picked up. Correct? Then go over to phone, click once on phone, and it should apply the format paint that I picked up. So now my labels both look the same. Then let's go up and turn off my paintbrush. All right? So what I have is a little table basically that I've set up. But what if my what if my columns aren't lined up the way I want them to be? Okay, I can adjust my tabs after the fact. So if you look at the space between my first and second column and this one, maybe I wanted a little bit more space in here, okay? And maybe this tab was set a little bit too far to the right. So let's select the text in my tab problem. Let's select all of the text. Now, when you selected the text, did your tabs, do they stay active? Are they still black? If they're black, they're active. If they turn gray, that means they're inactive. But now, whatever adjustment I make right here will apply to the whole problem. So I'm going to put my cursor right on my left tab. And as soon as I see the dialog box that says left tab, I'm going to click and hold. Notice that line that appears on my screen? Now I'm going to drag that to the left. And look what happens. It adjusts the entire column. So then I'm going to go and do the same thing with my center tab. I'm going to wait till the center pops up. And I'm going to drag that just slightly to the left. So maybe it looks something like that. And then I'm going to take my right tab and I'm going to slide that just a little bit to the right. And then I'm going to click off that to deselect it. And does that look like it's maybe a little bit more balanced on the page? Looks like my white space is positioned a little bit better. I might have a little more white space over on the right side than I do on the left. Okay, but I can fix that. I can adjust that if I want. Okay? So that's all there is to setting up tabs. Now, let's do one other thing. Let's open up another new document. So let's just open up another new blank document. So I'm going to go File, New Blank Document. We won't save this. Yeah, we won't save this. Okay? Now this time I want to show you how to put leaders in. What a leader is a fill character that fills up the space in between something. Okay? So this time, let's go and I need to resize this here just a little bit. Give me 1 second here. Try to resize it so it fits my screen a little bit better. So something like that. All right, so let's go back and let's set up tabs again. Now, when I go and click on my tab setting, which tab comes up? The last one I used, okay, which was the right tab, and I don't want that. I want to set a left tab. So let's go up and choose left tab. And let's set the left tab at the ½ mark. So on the ruler, right here about the ½ mark, let's set a left tab. We good? Then let's go to your tab selector again. Let's do a center tab. And let's put the center tab, let's go 3. Then go to your tab selector one more time, and let's choose a right tab. And let's choose about the 5½ mark for my right tab. So now my screen should have a left tab at the ½ a center at the 3, and a right tab at the 5½. Okay? Now let's replicate what we did earlier. Let's go hit the tab. Let's go name. Put in our label. Hit the tab key. Let's go address. Okay? And then let's hit the tab key again. And let's go phone. So we're just replicating what we had done earlier. Now, there's no spaces. We don't have any fill characters or anything. We just have the space between our tabs. And that's what I want here so far. All right? Now, let's return twice. Okay? Now, this time what I want to happen is between my columns, I want it to fill with these little dots. The dots are called leaders. Okay? So let's hit the tab key to tab in. And let's type our first name, Joe Doe. But don't tab. Don't hit the tab key after we type the name. Let's just put the name in. All right? What I want to do is I want to apply something called a fill character. So to do that, on your toolbar, go up to Format. Go up to Format on your toolbar. And what we want to do is format the tabs. So let's go down and choose Tabs. And we get a dialog box that shows us that we have 3 tabs that are set. We have a 1/2 inch tab, a 3 inch, and a 5.5. If I select the tab, it shows me whether it's a left, a center, or a right. Okay? Now, this gets a little confusing sometimes, but the first tab is actually the space between the left margin, which is over here, and the tab stop, which is here. And I don't want to do any formatting with that. What I want to format is the 3-inch tab. So let's select the tab that is the 3, and it says it's a center tab, correct? Now I want number 2 for my leaders. I want to choose these little dots. So let's choose the dots and do OK. Okay, nothing has happened until I hit the tab key. Now let's hit tab. Now I got those little dots in between, right? Okay, now let's put in the address. What's Joe's address? 123 West Street. Okay, don't hit the tab key yet. Now I want to put in my fill characters for my next tab. So where did I find that? Format the tabs. Which tab do I want to format? 5.5. The 5.5, and it says that's a right tab. Again, let's use number 2, my number 2 fill characters, and let's do OK. Nothing's happened until I hit the tab key. Now I have my fill characters. Okay? So let's put in Joe's phone number, 681-1234. Now here's where the magic or the problem happens, because now I don't have to do any more formatting of this, because those settings that I made on my tab will be retained when I hit the return key. So let's return twice. All right. Hit the tab. Tom Doe. Hit the tab. And my fill characters apply. 2, 3, 4 East Street. Hit the tab. And the phone number, 681-2345. So if I were going to type a whole page now, those leaders would apply to the entire problem. Okay? Does that make sense? So that's how to set a tab and how to set the leader. Okay? Now here's something else that's sometimes useful when you're working with tabs, is to show you the non-printing characters. Let's go up here on your toolbar and choose your non-printing. And on your screen now, you'll see those little arrows. Well, the arrows represent tab stops. So every time I hit a tab, I see an arrow that points to the direction that shows me the tab is applying. And then we also have these things, which are our returns. So here was my left margin. Here was my first tab that got me to this position. After I type name, here is my tab that got me to this position. After I hit the tab here, this tab got me to this position. So my non-printing will show me exactly where I'm at. Now sometimes what will happen when you're dealing with a tab problem is you hit the tab and something won't work because maybe you're on the wrong line. Okay? And let me show you what I mean by that. I'm going to erase this stuff. Okay? Why don't I have fill characters up here between name, address, and phone? Because I didn't format my tabs up here. I waited and I formatted my tabs for the fill characters here. Okay? But sometimes I'm going to go up here and I'm going to return twice. Just watch. Now don't do this. Okay? And notice what happened. It kind of screwed up my formatting. But if I hit the tab key, it tabs it back. All right? So now I'm going to put my cursor right here on this blank line. And I'm going to hit a tab, or I'm going to hit a return. And now I'm going to hit a tab. and I'm going to type a different name, Mike Jones, and I'm going to hit the tab. What happened to my fill characters?
They weren't there before.
They weren't there before, were they? Okay, so if I turn off this, remember what I did is I returned twice on this line, then I used the up arrow and I went up. So really I'm putting this line up here above where my Tom Joe appeared. Okay, so if I went to this line and I hit the tab key, if I typed a name in here, would my fill characters fill? They would, because now Mike Doe, and I hit my tab, my leaders apply there, whereas they didn't apply up at the top. So sometimes what you need to do is, if you show your hide show, your non-printing characters, it'll help you figure out exactly where you're at on your project or on your screen. So I'm going to take this out, and I'm just going to delete this and get it back to the way it was. All right, but tabs are pretty useful, and you're going to be creating a project. We'll probably do that tomorrow. I'm going to ask you to create your class schedule, and I'll ask you to use tabs and leaders to set that up. It'll be very similar to what we just walked through here today. So how many of you have a split block class? Anybody? Most of you. Okay. So on your class schedule, you have block 1, you have block 2, then you have 3A, then you have 3B, and then do you have lunch?
No.
3A.
Well, you have 3A lunch and then 3B. Okay, so on your schedule, you put in block 1, 2, 3A, lunch, 3B, and then block 4. Okay? And whatever classes you have for this quarter, that's what I'm going to ask you to put into a tab and leadered problem. All right? And we'll talk more about that tomorrow. All right? Now, what if I wanted to have a heading above my project that I just created? Let's do that one last thing and then we'll be done here for today. All right? So what I want to do is I'm going to return twice. I'm going to go up and put the cursor right next to name. Let's return twice. And it kind of screwed things up, didn't it? Okay, hit the tab key and it will tab and put them back in the original position. All right? So let's go with the up arrow. Let's go up twice. And let's go center align my text. Let's go to center align. And let's put in a label. Let's call this my phone list. Okay? And now if I wanted that bold, underline, I could select it. I could make it bold. I could make it underline. I could make it a bigger font. You know, there's an 18-point font. So I could have my label up at the top. Okay? Or, let's do one last thing. Let's make this a word art label. Okay? So if I select this, rather than starting over, okay, let's just select my text. Let's go up to Document Elements. Let's go to Word Art. And just pick one. I don't care which one it is. Okay? Now that's a little big. But that's okay. Now let's click and drag it up and position it above my text. Because did yours kind of goof up your text? Yeah. Because it was too big for the space. And then if I want this to be smaller, I can make it smaller, but I can reposition it however I want on my screen. And now I have a word art heading over my phone list. Okay? So all I did is I changed my original heading to a word art heading. I could have just gone up and selected word art and then typed it after the fact, but because I already had it there and changed my mind. So I just want you to see that there's some flexibility in how you create these. And then again, balance and alignment. I want to make sure I've got this aligned so it looks right. I might even drag the handle to the left and to the right of my text. And now I know that that label is going to be centered right over the top of my 3 columns. All right? So questions on that? Okay, let's save this one. Let's save this as File, Save As. And let's save it in your Tech 101. And let's call it phone list. Phone list. And then let's do a save. Now tomorrow, we'll do a little organizing in our Tech 101 folder. Tomorrow I'm going to have you create a new folder that's going to be a teacher guided folder, and then we'll move some of the files into that. But we'll wait and we'll do that tomorrow. All right? Good job today.